Hello, my loves. I am really excited to have a very special guest with me today, Libby Shepherd. Libby Shepherd is an intimacy coach and a body worker. And today I am really excited to have her here because she's a good friend of mine, and we always have these incredible deep conversations about sex, sexuality, sexual liberation, pleasure, and I wanted to create a safe space to explore all the taboo, all the things that women desire to know about sexual liberation and pleasure. And so I'm so excited to welcome Libby here with me today.
Hello, darling.
There you go. Hey, gorgeous. So to begin, I was so just inspired by you when you started to share your story with me when we first met. And I remember, being so mesmerized by what you've been through and what you have created for yourself. And so, I would love for you to share your journey to where you are now and what has it been like for you?
How far do you want me to go back? I can't even remember what it was that I would have said to you that was so interesting. But I get it. So I've been working as a body worker and an intimacy coach for about 10 years now. I started working more kind of in the sensual massage field, working predominantly with men at that time. And then over the years, my work has grown a lot, and I now work a lot with women and also with couples as well. And the path into this work, it's an unusual career choice, I think, but it feels definitely like my purpose, what I'm meant to be doing, where my energy is meant to be channeled. I worked as a personal trainer and a sports massage therapist, and in another life I was also working in event management and kind of doing the corporate thing in the city. And it just got to a point where that 9-to-5 job was really not fulfilling me. So I wanted to sort of find a way to cross over into the passion that I had, which was working with the body and at that time through personal training, helping people to enjoy their bodies and relax in their bodies and use their bodies in a way that brought them happiness and joy. And then I sort of got introduced to Tantra, and a little light bulb goes off, and this sort of channel opens up for helping people to explore their bodies in the realm of sexuality and intimacy and pleasure. So it's something that has been very rewarding. It feels, it's very humbling to work with people in this, something that's so vulnerable and so personal and so complicated, I think, for a lot of people. To really sort of walk alongside people, discovering their bodies in a brand new way. For a lot of people, maybe helping them add to what they already enjoy or already know about themselves sexually, and just walking a little bit further along that path of discovery. But does that kind of that? Do you want me to go a little bit further back as well?
I was
the juicier stuff.
Let's get into the juicy stuff. I was going to ask you, what was your own journey to sexuality? What was it that sparked?
So I guess I was always a very sexual person, or I remember, for example, I had very early memories of exploring sexually or kind of feeling sexual sensations in my body. At that age, I think like 6 or 7, I didn't necessarily know what that was, or like this is something bad, or this is something to be ashamed of. But yeah, I remember around 6 or 7 kind of starting to touch myself and, like having my first, what I didn't know at the time, but now I know is like a little orgasm through kind of clenching and tightening and bracing and these kind of ways of touching and kind of creating that little pleasure sensation through tension. So that was kind of, I mean, I think that surprises a lot of people when I say like that young. A lot of people that I work with are, I didn't really start masturbating or touching myself or doing anything like that till I was in my teens, or maybe even later, or so I think there was always something that was very, like, I found that connection quite early, and then going into puberty, it was always something that there was I remember having my first boyfriends and like kissing and snogging, and oh my god, just this feeling of energy, and this is so like there's so much desire that I could feel in my body. So that makes me sound like a really open and liberated teenager at that time, but it was coupled with a massive amount of shame and these very negative messages from my parents, from society, from friends and things about not being a slut and not being overly sexual, and that's not what a good girl does. So this kind of weird friction that then I think through my teenage years was quite complicated and maybe has led to me doing what I do now, and maybe helping other people to unpick that relationship within themselves as well. And then when I reached university, I mean that sort of had its culmination there. I worked as a stripper and a pole dancer, and at the time, that was, it was one of the most amazing things I'd ever done in my life. And I still, to this day, I feel so proud of having the courage to be able to do that. It's not something that a lot of people would feel comfortable doing, but for me, felt like this very natural expression of my sexual energy, and it for me wasn't sleazy or dirty or
do you feel like it was a place for you to, like, in a society, an acceptable place for you to fully own your sexuality?
Yeah, in a way, yes. It was certainly a way to maybe a little bit more on the shadow side to get approval for that aspect of myself. Here's something that I could earn money through, and kind of have that outlet for it, rather than it being something that was suppressed and hidden. I mean, something that I always think is quite interesting about, and I don't really understand why this is the case yet, some more inquiry to do on this, but I used to drink a lot, and through my teenage years and the early 20s, alcohol was kind of my crutch. But when I was dancing, I would never drink. It was this thing that I did completely sober, and it does kind of have this feeling of that's the thing that that's where I can connect with that energy without needing something to kind of loosen me up, or this feels like, oh, this is the right kind of expression channel for that energy.
What you what you say is so beautiful. And it's funny because you're one of those people that confronts me internally. Like you create like internal conversations and confrontations where I'm like, oh, there's resistance there when she speaks about this and she does, you know. Because I remember you sharing that exact part of your life with me about dancing. And, you know, for me, that just, in my head, like that, I just couldn't compute it for myself. Like I just was like, there was just so many stories around shame and like, this is so shameful. And I know that comes.
What kind of girl does that? Or what kind of, you know, what kind of situation is she in that she needs to do that? Or like, that there's a lot of shame around that kind of work.
And, you know, unfortunately, I had so much control and so much projection being put on me from my mother, and so much shame around sexuality and feminine energy and being a woman, unfortunately, that I had to work through and move through. And so I think, you know, when you did speak about those things, like it was literally just liberating me there and then, of like hearing somebody being so liberated, obviously because I could see the work that you're doing and how much in flow you are. And I think we spoke about this and I said to you, you're a sexual priestess. You're like the modern sexual priestess of like intuitively doing the work that you do. And I think that so many women that I see, that I work with, there's usually like always patterns. So if they have a bad relationship with men, they will probably have a bad relationship with food or their body, or they'll have, you know, they will struggle with intimacy. And then on top of that, they will, you know, struggle with sexuality. There will be like shame around that. So there's not just like one aspect, you know, it's always, there's a ripple effect on that. And so, you know, I would love to hear about some of your experiences with female clients. Like what are the biggest issues that, you know, women have when it comes to sex and sexuality?
It's so I think the thing with it is that there are so many different my journey of finding how to express my sexuality is mine and yours is yours, and you know there are infinite number of ways that everyone can find a kind of healthy and integrated way of expressing this. And for some people it's really big and, you know, really juicy and kind of out there, and for other people it's very quiet and subtle, but if it's conscious and you feel relaxed and comfortable with it, then that's beautiful. And I think that kind of ties into then what most female clients, in my experience, are coming to me for sessions for. That was a long sentence. That there's this kind of disconnect between I want to enjoy sex. I want it to be an intimacy and, you know, physical connection with my partners. I want that to be a healthy part of my life because I kind of feel that it is like there is something that draws me to knowing that is just a very natural part of my existence, and something that it's like part of the pillars of well-being, you know. But there is this disconnect, and I hear so many female clients kind of express that as I do not know how to relax during sex. I cannot get out of my head. I find it very difficult to relax and trust the partner that I'm with. The kind of I can't surrender. I can't let go. I've never really experienced orgasm with a partner. Like I can kind of get there on my own, but when I'm with someone else, there's this block that comes in. And then, you know, these are what I would say the more, you know, we're just on a springboard to kind of bounce out of that. But then there's also like, I'm dealing with deep trauma, I have a history of abuse, I have nothing but pain during sex, and I don't know what to do with that. So those are the where we work more kind of therapeutically, and then with the first lot, it's more around kind of coaching and self investigation, or more on the practical level. But it's that thing of like, I know that this is a natural part of me, but I've been shamed, or something is getting in the way, and I have this disconnect. How do I integrate that? How do I access that relaxed and natural, joyful, abundant, horny energy, and not feel, and not feel shame about feeling pleasure?
And I think what you do is, what you do with body work is like really, it adds to the whole sex coaching process, because the work is somatic. So at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're working with the body, and you're releasing any points of trauma, memories of trauma, emotions and repressed emotions that are stuck for people. So talk me through, like, through touch, what experience do women have through touch when it comes through to like relieving from some of sexual shame or trauma that they have?
Yeah, what's the way that I work is slightly unusual. I'm not a sex therapist. I'm not a relationship therapist, or a relationship counselor or coach. So we don't just talk. I'm a body worker first and foremost. So my sessions are based in kind of helping people to bring more awareness to their own body and more understanding of their own body. Sometimes that involves touch from me to them. Sometimes that involves kind of close body contact, holding, emotional release work through these kind of trigger points on the body, different types of touch techniques. But it also involves kind of helping people how to like understand how to connect with their own bodies first. And I think for a lot of the female clients, but also the guys that I work with, that step, or that sort of that phase of intimacy is missing a lot of the time. How do I connect with my own body first? So a lot of the stuff that I use is it's nothing that I've invented, right? It's all out there and available in different ways. But it's embodiment work. It's body awareness. It's breath. It's simple body-based meditation. But I add to it this this realm of like physical touch on the body as well. And I it's amazing how many people don't know how to touch don't know how to have a relationship with their own body, and like that it's a bit kind of alien to.
Yeah.
For me, it's like a second language to touch my own body and to touch other bodies, but the kind of guidance and coaching around this is your body now here's how you can play with it, here's how you can investigate it, here's how you can explore it. And by learning about your own body, and this is again something that I work with female clients a lot, you are in a better position to understand how to communicate to your partner as well. Like, this is what I need, and this is what's going to help me relax, and here's where I struggle, and here's where I notice that I tense up. And so just that sort of first level of awareness in your own body, and then the work that I do on their bodies is kind of secondary to that. It's, if I'm just poking and prodding you and you're off up here somewhere, then we're not really connecting with anything that's going to help you grow and change those patterns.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. What's coming through for me is like the piece with connection. Like you're speaking about connection to the body, and what I've noticed through the work that I do with clients is the trauma that we experienced in childhood. Basically, all that means is that we experience something that is impossible for us to cope with in that moment in time. It's an emotion, it's an overwhelming sense of shame, it's an overwhelming sense of pain, anger,
confusion.
Yeah.
Joy. A lot of people have their joy suppressed out of them. Don't be too much, don't be making too much noise, calm down.
All sorts of templates, all sorts of patterns. And trauma is actually what creates the disconnect in the first place, because all of a sudden it's too overwhelming. These emotions are too overwhelming in the body. So the mind's like, hey, let's just jump out of the body. Let's not be in the body. Let's desensitize, right? And so this is where the first disconnect actually comes from and starts to happen. And so people are disconnected from their body. And so, when I work with females who have partners or couples, the first pillar is actually rebuilding, like you say, the intimacy with the body, with yourself internally, because you can't create intimacy with another person without knowing yourself. It's as simple as that. And so I always say intimacy. Yeah. Because it's really, people think that intimacy is about like this projecting yourself out, onto the other person, but actually it starts with internal process with yourself to then be able to share that with another person, to not have the fear to share that with another person.
Yeah, or the intimacy is some complicated arrangement of sex toys and complicated positions, and like if you're really intimate with someone, then you have, I don't know, some idea of like wild, crazy, I don't know, sex that you've never had.
Yeah.
But that those things will never feel grounded and integrated doing those things if you're not kind of first relaxed and comfortable and in your own body and able to regulate your nervous system. Like there's this, so I always think that good sex is not about the number of orgasms you have or the way it looks or who does what to who. It's about this feeling of safety in your own body and the safety to express emotion or to let go letting go into orgasm is for like the number of things that women have shared with me, like, no, I can't do that because what if I make a weird noise, or like do other women look like that when they orgasm? Like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Like, what if I what if I move weirdly, or what will he think of me? What if I cry? All these kind of mind fucks that we have as women about just letting go. And if you can kind of feel safe and relaxed in your own body, the letting go will happen. Nothing else really matters.
Yeah, I guess reestablishing safety is the piece, the missing piece that so many people experience. And what the things that you were describing earlier, that women share with you, that they can't feel surrender, they can't feel safe, they're ashamed of making a sound, they're ashamed of their body parts, whatever it is. Like a lot of that I find is, yes, it's a protection mechanism. And when working with the feminine energy, that's the paradox when you're in the dynamic of a man and woman, in the dynamic where, the man wants to penetrate, the man wants to, with his masculine energy, the man wants to, penetrate the woman really penetrate her energetically. And there's a block, a total block to that, because there is no safety. There is no safety established to begin with. And so the feminine energy she can't fully be embodied in her feminine energy. And I just would love to find out, like, do you see that a lot of women struggle to struggle with their feminine energy in this work, or maybe the opposite?
Yeah, I mean, you're well versed in this, and you've done a lot of work in your own exploration of this. And a lot of the time, like this idea of feminine energy, what does that mean? What is it? I think a lot of people are. This is kind of a languaging thing, right? A lot of the clients that I work with simply that the understanding that part of me is feminine and part of me is masculine, that's not even there. Like, I think there's so much confusion around what am I meant to do to be sexy, to be a woman? What am I meant to do to be attractive or appealing? And a lot of what we're at, wherever we are in our culture and society, what we're focused on in terms of the feminine is very superficial. And this is something that I'm just fascinated by most of the time. So the kind of female investment in pleasure, like the amount that we as women spend on lingerie, on sex toys, on getting our pussies waxed, on looking and dressing ourselves up as attractive somehow. But then there is not this. It's not as common for this kind of investment in, like really investigating your own feminine energy, and how are you recharging that in our very masculine, goal-driven world? And when I talk to women about, like, even with masturbation, for example, the feminine way of, and even these terms are so complex, but most people approach masturbation as a goal-oriented thing. Like, I'm going to get to the orgasm and then I'm done. Successful masturbation, off I go to sleep, or my next task, whatever. But have you considered, like, just masturbation and self-pleasure as something that doesn't result in a goal, that is just for you to explore your body in that time? And that often is like that's a very simple switch to make, to help women to sort of connect to this other facet of themselves, and sort of opening this window into, this is a different way of connecting to yourself. This is a different way of, like, I don't know, like left brain, right brain things, but like how to let go of this goal-oriented stuff and kind of working in this very masculine way to just, like, what can you allow to happen? What can you feel right now? And that's like a simple little change that often is quite eye-opening for a lot of women.
I think people are so enwrapped in the externals, in the conditioning on who's doing what's going on, how to, and people, I believe there's like too much, like you say, there's too much lingerie, too many dildos, too many, too many toys, too many things that vibrate, too much. It's just too much. Like the same with like the world in general, like too much takeaways, too much restaurant choices, too many Netflix movies to watch, too much. It's too much sensitization, and humans are becoming so desensitized to all of it. And again, that creates that disconnect from your internal world, because, like, look, if we just plonked two naked, man and woman in a forest, and said, hey, like, you've got nothing here, like, do it for yourself, you know, they would have a spiritual awakening. They would find themselves, something fun would happen, you know, they would have something, because they would be forced to come back to their natural essence. And I do believe that they would probably find like a dynamic between them that would be really healthy, where they would be, because a lot of the times, you know, going back to the feminine masculine energy, you know, in the media, I think the feminine energy is portrayed that like a woman has to be purely feminine energy and the man has to embody purely masculine energy, and because they're a man, and that in itself is not balanced, you know, because like you said, we carry both parts of the energies within us, and they play a role in a relationship dynamic. It's really important that a woman embodies her masculine energy in a way that is supporting her in her life and in her relationship, alongside with healthy feminine energy. And, you know, that also plays a big role in sex as well.
Yeah, I would be super interested to get your take on, knowing what you know about the brain and stuff. Like, do you think there is some correlation, this just popping into my head now, between, if you think of kind of the masculine aspect of people, of individuals, and a certain brain wave state, like a very kind of focused, I think that's kind of working mind.
Yeah.
And then the more feminine aspect of us is these other, like, more like deeper, relaxed, you know, play states where we're not what do you think about that? Does it have any correlation in terms of the?
That's a really good question, because in your deeper brainwave states, you've got like theta and delta, and so you'll be in a more. That's where the healing happens. That's where intuition switches on. That's where you astral project. You're able to astral project. You're able to kind of get out of the awake state, the aware state, as you say. You know, I associate healing and intuition and with feminine energy. Well, with feminine energy, I associate them simply because, you know, feminine energy is all encompassing life force energy. That's how I see it. And the masculine is the container for it, you know. And so, you know, you need the feminine energy needs the masculine energy to then manifest everything that we create. And this is all happening within us, within each and every person. That's why both of the energies are so important. So yeah, I totally agree that that the brainwave states are different for different things, and we spend way too much time in the alpha and beta states, and not enough time in these more deeper brainwave states that are achieved with meditation and trance, you know, anything that induces trance.
Touch, like the sort of, and it kind of ties back around a little bit then to, I think that on a neurological level, the difficulty that a lot of women have in feeling comfortable and relaxed in sex is, you could kind of look at it in that level, that we're so used to being in that functional brainwave working state. And you know, you were just saying before we started, like, it's a lot easier now for you to drop into these deeper states of experience or embodiment through practice and, you know, everything that you're working on, that you've done. But it's like how to kind of help women learn how to do that, and like, when you drop into those deeper, more relaxed states, you know, your nervous system is in this not in this kind of highly wired state, which is not helpful for relaxation and arousal. But, you know, through touch and body work and even like changing the way that you masturbate, it builds up your bandwidth for that feminine experience, or that feminine energy, or this like more familiarity or ease with those deeper brainwave states. I haven't thought about it in that way
It's
before.
very beautiful.
This is very cool. I'm learning. I'm learning and having a download.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was very
Just
beautiful.
make it a little tie-in.
Yeah. What you're saying about what was it that I wanted to add to this? What was it that I wanted to say to add to that? Because that was so beautiful. I was like having an internal orgasm while I was saying it. Yes. You know when Monica goes a 6 and a 5 and a 6 and a 5 and I was literally like I was Joey. I was looking at you like I do. Doesn't matter. It will come. It'll come.
Business too.
Yes, exactly. I think that it's really powerful what you've said about like dropping into these states requires stillness and it requires touch. Because what touch does, it grounds. It grounds. And I know this through my own experience from just being in psychedelic ceremonies. And, I get zonked out. I'm just out in another reality, in another world. And I'm like receiving whatever I'm doing whatever I need to be doing. And I know that when, a facilitator will touch me, will hug me, it's an exchange of pheromones. It's an exchange of like heartbeats. It's I know from research that, because I've been looking into this, because I've been like really interested in this, that two people that are in love with each other, or at least have interest in each other, when they come together in a room close enough, their heartbeats start to go into sync. Just so powerful.
Breath as well. Like it's a very unconscious thing that when you're. So I know this is something that I actually consciously use at the beginning of a session to help people. They don't. Well, I'm doing it now, but when people come in and they're very nervous, like by keeping my own breath calm and kind of keeping my own body relaxed, it's like a little beacon for their nervous system to kind of gradually settle down. So we start to co-regulate with the people we're in a space with. But the reverse happens as well. If you're in depending on maybe kind of who is the stronger or the more dominant energy in the space. If someone is very up, then you might be kind of pulled into their field as well. But our bodies respond to each other.
Yeah, we definitely, obviously, we're energetic beings, and some people have better awareness to that than others, and we inevitably will feed off each other. That's like that happens. And definitely you've hit the nail on the head there with breathing, especially I will do this during sex, and I will do this to help my partner have an internal orgasm, or when I feel like the energy is like going like everywhere, and that's when I start to breathe deeper and start to see if they start to synchronize with my breathing, and obviously my partner will do the same with that as well. So it's I think it's like a process of grounding, a process of grounding yourself back into your body, and without being in your body, like you can't experience feminine energy.
I completely agree, and I think it's a lot of more like spiritual, or even sometimes in yoga, I think I've thought this. Someone will say, just feel your legs, or connect with your legs, or put your attention in your belly, or whatever it is. For me, that was kind of like that's hard. That's hard for me to do. But if I actually just put my hands there, okay, well now I can feel that.
Yeah.
I think for a lot of people, we're so used to not being in our bodies that anything that will help you get there more successfully or easily and less vaguely, I think is a good tool. So yeah, it's great if you can just, with practice, I'm more able to do this now. If you can just pay attention to your feet, or feel sensation in your hands, or put your awareness in your cervix, or whatever. But it's a lot easier if you touch, if you physically connect with that area. It is like a little anchor. So yeah, again, the reason that I work with people in this way, to have more familiarity and ease and skill with touching and connecting to your own body. Yeah, it certainly makes it a lot easier, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of women that I work with experience, this is going around the same kind of topic, the lack of safety and the nervous system being dysregulated. And so with that, we start to develop coping mechanisms. And what I tend to see is a pattern of poor relationship to food, like overeating, undereating, like controlling food, just, and that obviously wags out the food that we put into our body, has an effect on our hormone system, on our which has an effect on our metabolism. And so it can whack you out. It can whack out your hormones. Your nervous system will, stress will whack out your hormones anyway. So then it's just they just go into like a vicious cycle, and they judge themselves and hate themselves for something that now their hormones are doing. It's no longer actually their lack of willpower. It's nothing to do with willpower. But it also becomes like a coping mechanism. And so how can we use pleasure for, because I literally had a client, I think today she sent me a message. She was like, I still do this thing. What can I do? So this is really relevant.
Yeah, and it's curious one. So pleasure, right? I get pleasure from eating a donut. I get pleasure from eating a tub of Ben and Jerry's. But it's this, the concept that we can actually use pleasure in a healing way requires a little bit of a rewiring of what do you mean by pleasure? Do you mean something that kind of numbs the other stuff, the other uncomfortable emotions? Or do we, what I like to look at pleasure as instead is something that actually just helps you to feel what is going on in the moment. And so a teacher of mine that I'm studying with at the moment, amazing woman called Michaela Bohm, what I'm learning from her is a practice around really tuning into yourself, or not having such a lag in how you are feeling during the day. So often, it gets to the end of the day and we've had such a fucking stressful day at work, or some difficult things have happened and we haven't really felt them or allowed ourselves to kind of connect to that in any way. And then it gets to the end of the day and I'm like, fuck it. I'm gonna have a tub of Ben and Jerry's. I'm gonna what I'm just thinking of the someone once shared with me to use a Magnum as a spoon on a tub of Ben and Jerry's. I've never done that. But yes, that's our way of kind of dealing with the lag, right?
Yeah.
So if we can clear out the lag and actually feel our bodies more in the moment, or just these small little kind of bite-sized points of connection during the day.
Yeah.
But it's attending to that part that is maybe feeling some stress, or, you know, I can feel like, it, you know, if I've been driving, for example, it's a little bit stressful, so I get out of the car, I can feel that my body is a bit physically tense. So I might just take like a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes to kind of like do a little bit of self-parenting. You know, hey, I know that was stressful for you. Oh, you know, I'm going to give you a little hug, you know, just kind of help you feel a little bit better here. You did really well. Okay, we're done. And then I've kind of caught up with the lag between what I am able to deal with and what I can kind of clear out in the moment. And that for me is pleasure. And it sometimes my self-pleasure practice is I'm just going to lie down on the floor, I'm going to put my hands on my body somewhere for 3 minutes and see what happens. If I cry, great. If I feel a little bit horny, great. If I just want to move a little bit, great. If I want to stroke, great. If I want to squeeze, great. Like 3 minutes, put my hands on my body, and that's what I need to kind of regulate a little bit more regularly throughout the day, so I don't get to that point where I'm going to resort to the old strategies or the old coping mechanisms. And, you know, that's taken me a long time to learn how to do that, and I'm still learning, and, you know, it is a tough practice to do, but there's something loving in it, right? It's not punishing, it's not hard work, it's not like you have to go and do, you know, 50 squats and then you're allowed your ice cream or whatever. No, this is like, yeah, hello you, I know that was stressful. Okay, yeah, you did really well. Yeah, you're okay. Just, yeah, you can soften a little bit. Oh, okay, and there might be an emotional release with that. There might just be like a relaxation, and that for me is like the essence of pleasure healing. You know, that makes sense.
Yeah. I think that requires just daily awareness.
Yep.
Like awareness is what's going to really get you to, because what you're explaining to me is that's exactly how you reprogram habits, how you get out of, you know, how you resensitize yourself, how you kind of regulate the nervous system up, you know, bring it out of dysregulation is when you're in the most stressful moments and you're bringing that awareness into like, what am I feeling? Am I feeling fear? Am I feeling anxiety? I'm right here with you. And that in itself, like you said, like that is reparenting. That is being with your inner child there and then. And I think, you know, having your inner child with you all the time, so you know, creating a concept or creating an idea that your inner child is always with you, you know, whatever way that works for you. Like if you're holding, like literally holding.
For me, I'm like, she's always walking.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah. Like, or if she's like in a little pocket in your heart, you know, is she like on your shoulder, or is she, you know, I think, because one of the practices that I do for, especially in couples work, is, hey, can before you see the person, you know, in a setting of in a conflict, before you see the person that's in front of you, can you see their inner child? And before you start speaking as yourself, can you just for a second see if that's your inner child speaking? So all of a sudden, it's like a vision where you're literally seeing like two children sat in front, and you know, the words that they're speaking are usually coming from a place of hurt.
Wow, it's a powerful image. Yeah, I think of some conversations and situations that I've had with family and things where you can, if I look at it like that, it's like I have a lot more compassion for them and for me as well.
Yeah, once you begin to, and so that's when you can speak from a place of compassion. All of a sudden, you're not speaking from a place of hurt, because if you're speaking from a place of hurt, you're just going to hurt the other person. You know, and that's where all conflicts kind of end. You know, either the person storms off, or the other person shuts down, or, you know, that's when there's no resolution. It's just all shut down, because either person is probably in that heightened nervous system state, so they no longer are in a rest and digest, present, like compassion. I'm with you, and that is really tough. And that in itself is again, it's like a self-awareness practice. That and I think like slowing down, like it's a beautiful feminine energy practice where you simply, like one of the practices that I'll give my clients who are more in their masculine energy, who are like, you know, highly driven, like go mode. I just simply say to them, like, do everything 100 times slower. It's like everything. You know? The way you're walking to the shop. And, you know, I think the hardest is obviously for people who live in these big cities, because then you realize that
everything's going so fast.
You're picking up the energy of other people in the street, and you're like, all of a sudden, you're just going to see your friend, but you're like, I'm going to see my friend.
I'm on a march.
Yeah. All of a sudden, it's like, must get this shit done, and that is like, must get this shit done is for everything, to get groceries, to have a coffee with your friend, to like, you know, to whatever it is that's happening. You know?
And I think a lot of people go into sex in that mode, and there's no buffer between. But it's, I mean, sex is exciting and sex is exhilarating, right? And there is, in these kind of the first, in terms of what's happening with your nervous system, the first phase of sexual arousal is like that. The fight or flight state of your nervous system, it is aroused, if you like, not just sexual arousal, but there's excitation, or, you know, everything kind of, the heart's pumping faster, blood's kind of rushing to your muscles, but then this like and that's why, I mean, I know we're talking predominantly about women today, but a lot of my male clients, one of the biggest struggles that I work with guys on is premature ejaculation. And because most guys are kind of getting into that like heightened sexual state, and aren't able to, again, regulate the nervous system to come down into a more relaxed state. So ejaculation happens before they've kind of been able to slow down and relax into the second phase of sexual connection, which is this like, to sustain erections and to get into these deeper orgasmic states, your body needs to be relaxed, both for women and for guys. So again, I think we'll keep looping back around to it, but just any practices that, or bringing awareness to how you can consciously switch your state from gotta get this shit done to don't really need to get anything done right now. I can chill out without using stuff maybe like alcohol or just going to sleep, right? Because that's generally how most people will switch into a more relaxed state.
Yeah, that's very interesting about the arousal in men and premature ejaculation. Do you find that these men are more stressed, or
have a lot of anxiety about sex? Yeah.
Oh, they have a lot of anxiety about sex.
And generally, yeah. I mean, it's very, very. I've worked with thousands of bodies. There are patterns. I mean, everyone is very different, but there are patterns of tension and holding and the way that people's bodies kind of express that go hand in hand with. Of course, yeah. I know before you even tell me that you struggle with premature ejaculation, because the kind of patterns of tension and level of anxiety in your body is not going to be conducive to a relaxed state of arousal. And I think, we could get into a whole other conversation around the use of porn and the kind of reliance on that, in that it's becoming more and more common, like that, those kind of very high frequency, very exciting for the brain, these kind of like very intense streaming of porn that kind of is meant to create that level of excitation and arousal very quickly. So most men are familiar with what 0 arousal feels like and can tell me what 9 or 10 of arousal feels like, but the kind of relaxed zone in the middle is a lot more unfamiliar. So there's a lot of work to do with women, but sex is not a one person thing. So there's your partner could there's stuff for guys to look at as well.
Of course, yes. So that requires another conversation, I think, that we have to do
for the boys.
For the boys, yeah. Because I kind of the last thing that I want to chat to you about is actually porn and porn addiction in women, and especially like the because I feel like there's such a judgment around on men that we never hear about porn in women. And like not too long ago, I was looking for a sex toy, something that I can like enhance my kind of sensory experience. And so when I went onto and I was looking at all different types, like what does this do and what does this do, and
you go down a big rabbit hole.
There's a lot out there. So I was looking through the reviews, and it was like, this toy is amazing. It got me to orgasm in like 1 minute. Amazing, love it. I was like, what? I don't want that. And surely enough, I actually did get that toy to try it out, and it was so fucking intense. It was so intense. I was like, I was actually repulsed. And I was like, I need to return it.
It's like some of these things for me now feel, especially things that vibrate or suck or whatever.
Yeah.
Feels like being plugged into a electrical socket. And it's not a nice way. It feels painful.
It feels unnatural.
Well, yeah. I mean, when the fact that a human cannot replicate the intensity of the sensation that you get from a vibrator, I think is a really, but it's a bit dodgy. But I do not. I don't want to shame women for using vibrators. Great, they like power to your pleasure, and for a lot of women who aren't in relationships, of course, like you enjoy your orgasms. But there's the porn thing with women is an interesting one. Like I used to watch a lot of porn, and I felt so ashamed of it. Like I felt there was something really wrong with me. Like women don't do this. This is something that desperate men do. But for me, and I like it. And I think at the time, or what I've realised now, is that there was a lot of my porn viewing was a way to kind of live out the sexual fantasies that I had. And I wasn't at that point. I mean, I don't really watch porn anymore at all. But at that point, I didn't have a very conscious sex life. Once I started exploring sex in a more conscious and relaxed way, the porn just wasn't necessary because I'd kind of lived out the things that I was watching on porn that got me excited. And I kind of didn't need to keep them. And it's like it lost the energy of it for me. So I think porn is, we're like a natural part of our sexuality is voyeurism and exhibitionism, right? We want to see and be seen. It's exciting. That's why sex in public is such a turn on for a lot of people. And the excitement of, will I get caught, is it ramps up the sexual energy. So it's very natural to want to watch or be watched. But the problem with porn is that it conditions you to get horny on seeing other people have sex, not get horny on what you can feel in your own body. And often it's a very it's not a very embodied experience. You can certainly change the way that you're watching porn and integrate it in a healthy way, and that means just involving your body a little bit more, not just touching only your genitals, for example, like making sure that when you're watching porn you're also massaging everything else in your body, and kind of staying connected to what's happening in the physical body in the moment as well. But it's a strange one, right? I can't say negative things about porn, because porn is a healthy and exciting and often very creative, depending on what type of porn you're watching, outlet for sexual energy. And it's like having a conversation that doesn't shame it, but also kind of looks at the dangers of it and the limitations of it. I think it's quite nuanced.
Yeah, I think it's a form of exploration, but you really hit the nail on the head when you said that porn can become a disembodied practice, where you're no longer experiencing anything from it. It's kind of it's in your mind. It's like in your vision, and it's very true. Once you liberate yourself enough to explore your sexual fantasies and overcome the shame, which is what I went through, and allow yourself to be fully seen during sex, you don't need the porn anymore. I always say I have a memory bank, because I do, like from my own sexual experiences, because I get turned on by my own sexual experiences. That's my way of doing it, and like, who's not to say that that's not porn as well? And so I think the way you've put it all, it's just I don't have anything to add.
But I think the only other thing I would add is, like, it's like buying meat. If you're gonna eat meat, like, buy the best quality meat you can afford, and buy organic or buy grass fed. If you're gonna watch porn, think about where you are consuming your porn from. There's lots of conscious kind of porn makers, more artistic, more creative, more feminine led as well. So just maybe we can provide some links to someone who's happy to do that. Just being conscious of what it is that you are consuming, both in your mouth and through your eyes, as well. So but I think a lot of research shows that women, generally visual porn is a male consumed product, and I think most of the women that I know, friends and clients as well, prefer erotic literature and stories, and there's something more, like, women are a little bit more auditory than visual, and like that's what I sort of started off with, reading like erotic literature and stuff when I was younger. So and again, there's lots of great resources for that, and if you think about it from the feminine aspect, it is just an expression of, it's a channel for that energy, right?
Yeah, it's true. Like you said, men are more visual, and women I would say are more emotive. They will be seeking for an experience that sparks an emotional response within them. So that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Beautiful, my love. Thank you so much.
It's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure to chat.
I've learned so much from you today.
I've learned stuff too. I love it.
And last but not least, how can people find you?
Good question. I need to get better at this. I have a website, which is touchofhappiness.co.uk. I have an Instagram, which is Touch of Happiness Massage, I think. And I have a YouTube channel, which I think is also Touch of Happiness Massage.
Perfect.
Yes.
Well, if people can't find you, we'll put links links everywhere. If you don't remember your own website, it's
That's
okay.
right. Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay, Mela. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.